takes one to know one. Yeah, I'll show you what I can take later. Hello, and welcome to Ninefold Promise. This is a dating sim in which you wake up next to your loving boyfriend of 3 years, Kai. There's just one problem though. You don't ever remember meeting him. Let's get started. Choose your pronouns. She, her. Wow, the UI is gorgeous. I woke up slowly. The warmth of another body pressed against me. For a moment, it felt comforting. Familiar even, but as my eyes adjusted to the dim light filtering through the curtains, my pulse began to quicken. All I remember was waking up from a nap beside my boyfriend. I don't have a boyfriend. The realization sent ice through my veins and I froze. My breathing hitched and I forced myself to stay still. Well, I have a boyfriend now, I guess. Maybe it was a dream. Maybe I was still dreaming. Oh my god. Oh my god, he's so pretty. He's gorgeous. Wow. But then he stood beside me, his arm tightening around my waist.
Good morning.
I stared at him, dead in the face. This seemed too real. He shifted again, this time propping himself up on one elbow. I felt his gaze burning into me before I turned to meet it. The man, or whatever he was, had a face so perfect it bordered on unreal. I tried to pull away.
What's wrong?
Around me, I saw a Netflix movie still playing, a bowl of popcorn on the floor, and things that evidently pointed out that I was watching a movie with my boyfriend. Who are you?
It's me, Kai.
Okay, that doesn't tell me anything. I couldn't breathe. Kai. The name meant nothing to me, and yet flashes of memories flickered in my mind. Holding hands, whispered conversations, laughter. What? I don't...
It's okay. You had a nightmare, right? I'm here for you. I always will be.
He raised his hand to sweep the hair out of my face, evidently concerned about what I was saying.
First, remember your name, where you are, and what you're doing.
What is your name? Yinny. I'm Yinny.
Are you sure?
Yes? Yeah.
Right. That's you. Now, where are you?
My house.
What were you doing?
You, hopefully? Watching a movie and eventually falling asleep.
With?
Only me. Who are you? It's okay, we can do this all over again. Maybe something went wrong in my spell. Spell? Well, the mask just came off really quickly, didn't it? Shh. You've forgotten this day. What? No! I can't believe I just got kicked to the menu. Alright, let's do this again. I woke up next to my boyfriend of 3 years, Kai. His eyes sparkled and he pulled me in for a hug. I lay still, comforted by the presence of my pillows, blankets, and his arms. I never knew my sofa was this relaxing. He smiled and locked his eyes with me. You snapped out of your nightmare. His voice was gentle, calming the storm in my chest. His hand reached for mine, intertwining our fingers, though I could not help but notice how hesitant he was.
You scared me for a second there. What kind of dream were you having to make you forget me?
I don't know. My memories of reality that remembered that I never met you in the first place? He chuckled softly, the sound warm and familiar. My initial unease began to melt away under his gaze. Something about his presence felt grounding, like an anchor in a sea of confusion. It felt so real, like I didn't know you.
Well, I'm here to remind you every day if I have to. Want to tell me about the dream? Or maybe I should just distract you with something better?
What do you mean by something better? Whip it out. You really think you can distract me that easily?
I'd say I'm pretty good at it.
As if to prove it, he pinched my face. It hurt, that was for sure.
See? You're not dreaming. I'm real. We're real.
What an odd feeling I had before. You've always been with me. What was I thinking? You're not thinking? He hasn't always been with you? Yiddy? I felt his arms around me again, gently resting his face on my shoulders. Oh well, he seemed to enjoy every last bit of my warmth, as if I would fade away.
Oh, don't worry. I think you're hungry. Maybe breakfast?
I want miso soup.
Is that a sign to make some breakfast for you?
Please. Kai stood up and stretched, the muscles in his arms flexing as he rolled his shoulders. He walked towards the kitchen. I couldn't help but laugh at how he looked so unfamiliar with everything. I leaned back into the couch, listening to the faint sound of cabinets opening and closing. A small clatter followed. Do you need any help in there? No, I've got this. I sat up, already suspicious. The sound of eggs cracking echoed, followed quickly by the hiss of butter hitting a pan, then silence. Kai? It's fine. Everything's fine. I peeked into the kitchen and couldn't hold back a laugh. Kai stood by the stove, spatula in hand, staring down at the pan as if it had personally wronged him. Okay, so maybe I lied about being good at this. Maybe. He turned to me with an exaggerated pout. Don't laugh. I want to impress you. By burning breakfast, I thought effort counted for something. Scoot over. You're lucky I know how to cook. I'm lucky for more reasons than that. Oh, charmer, aren't you? I might just let you stay. He watched every single one of my movements. I love watching you. Whoa! Don't just sit there. Get the plates. Yes, Chief. He jumped up, bumping my shoulder as he passed. This felt easy. I felt like I'd done this a billion times before. I set up the table while Kai grabbed some plates and kitchen utensils. He calmly sat on the opposite end of the table to me after he handed them to me. We ate the breakfast that I whipped up. Miso soup. He stuffed his face full, leaving not a single bite behind. It's unfamiliar. Before I could voice those thoughts out loud. Whoa, that was insane. Thank you so much. He enthusiastically wiped his mouth with my handkerchief and smiled happily. He seemed unsure of what to do and continued looking at me to gauge my reaction. You're welcome. We sat in silence for a few more moments. It was incredibly awkward. Going to work soon? Work? Like that thing humans do to get money? I'm sorry, I've known you for 3 years, but why do I feel like I forgot your job? He stood up, panicked. What jobs do you think are attractive? This is because my job is attractive, by the way. Wildlife rehabilitator for foxes? Wildlife rehabilitator for foxes? That is quite an attractive job. He nodded his head deep in thought. You're very right. Foxes are beautiful creatures. There is a lot of kitsune imagery that is going around at the moment. I'm kind of wondering if Kai is, and I chose to be a wildlife rehabilitator for foxes. Since I thought of that. Definitely. Okay, this isn't suspicious at all. Am I just gonna fall for this? I'm going to leave now. Then I'll arrive at 11 and meet you back up at 2. He scratched his head and sent me a nervous smile. I didn't know that type of job required only 3 hours. Well, mine does. By the way, I feel like I'm forgetting something. A kiss? Hey, did you forget to kiss your precious partner? Oh, what? He turned bright red and faced away. What's with that reaction? It's absolutely nothing. He sounded like a dying rat. A what? Bye. He suddenly slammed the door. I looked at the place he was standing in a moment ago and wondered if he'd be okay. I was consoled by the fact that he was a grown man and could suffice on his own. Despite being utterly confused about his profession, he should be alright. He's pretty responsible in my memories. Enough about him. I work in a work-at-home job, graphic designing. It's a pretty chill job without much to worry about. Unless you get an art block, then it's all over. I decided to go outside first instead of working immediately. I strolled casually through my neighborhood. It's a small one, but it always heavily comforted me. I knew everyone here and everyone knew me too. This is a place I stayed in around for 15 years after all. Ever since I was a teenager. And I'm not planning to move out at all. It's in the most impactful way possible, my home. My family wanted to move into the big city of Tokyo 3 years ago for my education. And this area was the most peaceful and cheapest one I could find. I looked around on the left side. Granny Lily says she's still out of town for the week. Jenny's probably on her way to the office right now, and Liam is definitely at home snoring his guts off. Yiddy. I turned my head, wondering who suddenly called out to me. I was greeted by the familiar smiling face of Mr. Ray, a single father living a few rooms away from me. Is he hot? It was that pretty boy that I saw that came over last night. I grinned at him. My boyfriend. Oh, for how long? 3 years. What? How come I never seen him? You should have introduced me to him. He comes over really often, though. Why are you lying? He hasn't. I would know. I hear everything going on inside these thin walls. You always notice when my daughter visits, don't you? Right. And I don't remember ever introducing him to you either, which I should have done already. You told me you were single a week ago, too. Wait, my phone's ringing. I hope you get that sorted out, Yiddy. You're a little bit nosy. Ray left in a rush, retrieving the phone that was ringing non-stop inside his apartment. I continued my stroll, but now was something etched deep in the back of my mind. Everything seems so odd with Kai, which is impossible. I remember our first car trip together. Our first meeting in the rain, now everything. I cleared my thoughts and focused deeply until I got distracted by a pair of foxes in the back of some bushes. They were the shadows of what seemed to be a dog? No, a fox. I walked calmly to the bushes, trying not to alert it. What? A very humane sound came from the bushes. Totally not a fox. A cosplayer? A child with fake foxes. Are you alright? The pair of foxes disappeared from my line of view. And I was very curious to say the least. I checked in the bushes one more time, making sure I didn't miss anything at all. I found a little pin. One looking like it belonged to a traditional kimono dress. I better keep it to return and apologize for scaring the young cosplayer away. It's time to get back to work, hurrah hurrah! Let's check up on what my boss sent me. I haven't started at all, but I already have a headache. I pitter-pattered all day on my laptop until the clock turned 2 PM. It's about time I stop for the day. Kai will arrive soon too. Ring ring. That must be the sound of the doorbell. I ran over to the front door and greeted Kai. I'm back. He smiled at me gently, his eyes crinkling at the corners. He looks a little disheveled. His collar's loosened and hair slightly tousled, but still as charming as ever. Welcome home. Tease him. I heard a yelp from Kai as I tickled him. Stop. Stop! He yelled through fits of giggling. I decided to show him some mercy. I'm curious. Why are your work hours so short? It was only 3 hours. My boss is cool. Anyways, I can't wait to show you what I found while walking to work. What? I'm actually so excited to tell you. Wear your shoes right now. We're going outside. I'm in the middle of work. Kai looked at me and rolled his eyes. Fine, I'm coming. Hey! I do not like a man who is disrespectful about my work. I take my work very seriously. I barely agreed when he dragged me into a shopping district, weaving through stores like he had some grand plan. We stopped in front of the jewelry store, the sunlight glinting off the display cases like a scene straight out of a romantic drama. Really? A jewelry store?
You don't think I have good taste?
He opened the door with a flourish, gesturing for me to go in.
After you, my liege.
What's gotten into you? I was passing by earlier and saw something interesting. Come on, just humor me. I followed him inside, the cool air of the shop washing over us. The room was quiet save for the soft hum of a display light and the faint murmur of the shopkeeper chatting with another customer. Kai wandered immediately to the case in the center, his eyes sparkling as he leaned closer to inspect the items inside. You look good with a sapphire. He shot me a look, his lips twitching into a smile.
I'd look stunning in emeralds, thank you very much.
Bold choice. Really brings out your eyes. He chuckled, but his attention quickly turned to the display. I stepped closer, following his gaze. It wasn't the flashy pieces that caught his eye, but something simpler, a delicate silver ring with a subtle fox motif etched into it. That one's nice.
Yeah, it is.
There was something in his voice, a wistfulness I hadn't heard before. He straightened, clearing his throat, then turned to me with a grin that didn't quite reach his eyes.
What about you? Anything catch your eye?
I'm not really the jewelry type, not even a simple ring. His question hung in the air for a moment longer than it should have, and I felt heat creep up my neck. Why? You planning to buy me one? What if I am? I rolled my eyes, ignoring the flutter in my chest. Then I'd say you're terrible at surprises. You're supposed to be sneaky about it. Fair point. But I'd rather you pick something you actually like. Makes it more special, doesn't it? I stared at him, unsure if he was joking or not. But before I could respond, his attention shifted to a different display. Bracelets. I've been eyeing the bracelets. Kai pointed to a bracelet. Its design is simple but elegant, with tiny charms shaped like stars. This would suit you. Not too flashy, but just enough to stand out. You thought about this a lot, haven't you? Maybe. I glanced at the bracelet, then back at him. You're being weird today, you know that? Weird? Or romantic? Definitely weird. He laughed, rubbing the back of his neck. We left the store eventually with no purchases, but a lingering lightness in the air. Kai kept stealing glances at me as he walked down the street, a soft smile on his face. You know, you'd look good in that bracelet. Stop trying to charm me, Kai. Is it working? Maybe, but you still owe me dinner for dragging me around. He laughed, draping an arm around my shoulders as we continued down the street. Anything for you, future bracelet wearer. When we got home, he suddenly glanced my way. I wonder why, but I heard the clock tick 6 p.m. and the rumble of his stomach. What's for dinner? Meat covered in garlic. Inari sushi, though. I made your favorite, inari sushi. You spoil me too much. He sat down at the table and fiddled with his chopsticks, tapping them lightly on the edge of his plate as I placed the dishes in front of him. He took a bite and let out an exaggerated sigh, leaning back in his chair. You're amazing. Marry me? You've never even met my mom, Kai. That doesn't mean I can't ask again. He flashed that cheeky grin and I rolled my eyes, but couldn't stop myself from smiling. The room was cozy, lit by the warm glow of the television. Kai was sprawled on the couch, his head resting on a pillow, while I sat cross-legged on the floor attempting to solve a jigsaw puzzle that I found buried under some old books. You could help, you know. Nah, you look like you got under control. I've been staring at this one piece for 10 minutes. The one piece is real? It doesn't fit anywhere. Sounds like a you problem. What the hell? I tossed the puzzle piece at him, and it hit his shoulder before bouncing on the couch. Hey, that's assault. It's called justice. Now get down here and help me before I lose my mind. Kai groaned dramatically but slid off the couch, plopping down next to me. He picked up a random piece and inspected it like it was a rare artifact. This one clearly goes here. I bet it doesn't go there. He attempted to force it into a spot that was blatantly wrong. Seriously? It's not even the same color. Art is subjective. This isn't art, it's a puzzle. He's kind of annoying me. He leaned closer to inspect the puzzle. Fine, watch and learn, master puzzler at work. He spent the next few minutes picking up pieces, pretending to study them intensely, then trying to jam them into spots that they obviously didn't belong. You're the worst at this. Excuse me, I'm contributing. Moral support counts. Your moral support is morally bankrupt. He made a show sighing deeply like I just insulted his entire family. Okay, I admit it. I suck at puzzles. But you love me anyway, right? That's debatable. He gasped, clutching his chest dramatically. Debatable? After all we've been through, the breakfast I burned for you? The The breakfast you burned me are the main reason it's debatable. Kai chuckled, grabbing a piece and finally placing it in the correct spot. Look at that, I'm a genius. Congratulations, you sold 1 piece out of 1,000. Baby steps. I couldn't help but sigh. His smug grin was contagious, and despite his uselessness, having him there made the puzzle feel less frustrating. Okay, let's make a deal. If you can place 5 more pieces correctly, we'll go stargazing. Kai looked at me, his eyes sparkling with determination. Deal. Prepare to be amazed. He got to work, his tongue poking out slightly as he concentrated. I greatly enjoyed watching him struggle. By the time he managed to fit 5 more pieces, we were both laughing so hard we had to stop to catch our breath. Wow, you really put in the effort, I'm impressed. Told you I'm a genius. Now about that reward. You're lucky you're cute. I know, now chop chop. I've earned this. After solving the puzzle, Kai tugged my hand and led me outside. I resisted slightly, but he tugged me forcefully anyway.
I know you were staring at a computer screen all day today.
Yes, it's called having a job, Kai. We stopped suddenly in the middle of the road, in front of my house. The air felt cool and refreshing. Kai pointed up to the sky.
Hey, come here. Look at that. It's like someone spilled glitter all over the sky.
He's so pretty though. Romantic much? He turned to look at me and tucked a strand of hair behind my ear. His touch lingered just a little longer than necessary and I felt my cheeks heat up. He is very pretty though.
This sky. This exact one comforted me so much back when I was younger. The change of scenery from Akigawa Valley to Tokyo was absolutely insane, but all of the stars remained.
You used to live in the forest. Kai scratched the back of his nape and smiled sheepishly.
Wait, just continue listening to my story. All of the stars remained, and there were new stars too. You.
This is very cheesy, but very cute. You're being cheesy. Yes, you are.
You love it. You know, I think I could stay like this forever. Just you and me under the stars.
That does sound nice. He shifted closer and wrapped an arm around my shoulders, pulling me against him. I could feel his heartbeat steady and calm as I rested my head on his chest. His fingers intertwined with mine, and we stayed there for a few moments, not saying anything.
Promise me something?
What?
That no matter how busy we get, we always make time for this.
Sure. Stargazing.
And just being together.
I closed my eyes, letting the sound of his breathing and the distant chirp of crickets lull me into a sense of peace. I promise, I have no choice here.
Good. Because I don't think I could survive without you.
I kind of feel like he means that very literally. That's dramatic.
But true.
We sat there in comfortable silence watching the stars. You know, I could sit here forever just like this. I always wanted to go to the moon one day. Wanna go with me? Don't tempt me, I might actually take you up on that. Good, then maybe I should tempt you more often. He laughed softly, his voice blending with the gentle rustling of the leaves in the breeze. I tilted my head to look up at him, catching the way the starlight danced in his eyes. Do you ever wonder what it's like to just leave everything behind, start fresh somewhere? Like running away? Not exactly. More like finding someplace where it's quiet and peaceful. Like Akigawa Valley. Maybe. I think about it all the time. But then I remember something important. What's that? It's not the place that makes it peaceful. It's the person that you're with. I felt my heart skip a beat at his words. I opened my mouth just to respond, but he shifted, leaning down just enough to rest his forehead against mine. You're my peace, you know that? Even if I was on the moon, as I've always dreamt, I'd refuse to go if it wasn't with you. Kai, accept it. Before I could finish softly, he closed the distance between us, his lips brushing mine. It was warm and tender and completely disarming. When he pulled back, his eyes searched mine for a reaction, and I knew my flustered expression gave everything away. Was that okay? More than okay. He grinned, his thumb gently brushing against my cheek. Good, because I've been wanting to do that for a while now. I could see galaxies unfolding in your eyes. That's so cheesy. And you waited until now. The stars deserve to see it too. I laughed, the sound light and free as I rested my head against his shoulder again. The night stretched on, but neither of us seemed to care. For that moment, under the endless glittering sky, everything felt perfect. I felt myself being drowsy and drifting into sleep, my legs buckling. I felt a pair of arms carrying me to our room, opening the lock of our door and dropping me off on my bed. I felt a pair of arms patting me slowly and soothing me to sleep. And I felt someone's body on me, cuddling me all night. And then I dreamt. One day, I found a fox calmly resting on the streets of my neighborhood. It was odd. Strange. No way a fox could end up in the streets of a small town in Tokyo. I didn't think much of how it ended or where it came from. I was only 13 years old. The first thing I did was search up what type of food foxes liked. My phone screen glowed in the dim streetlight as I crouched near it, careful not to startle the little creature. It didn't run. Didn't even flinch. just stared at me with those sharp amber eyes like it already decided I wasn't a threat. Hey, you okay? Don't worry, I'm not gonna hurt you. Its ears twitched, but it stayed still, curled up like it belonged right there between the cracks in the pavement. The fur along its back was messy and matted in places. Its tail looked thinner than it should have. My heart squeezed a little and I glanced back at my phone. Foxes eat meat? Eggs? Berries? Oh, you don't exactly look like you'd be into berries. I opened my bag and rummaged through it, finally pulling out the sandwich I hadn't touched earlier. The smell of turkey and bread seemed to catch the fox's attention. It lifted its head slightly, nose twitching. Yeah? You want this? I broke off a piece and held it out. It hesitated at first, eyes flicking between me and the food, but hunger won out. Slowly, carefully, it stepped closer and took the bread from my fingers. It barely breathed as it chewed, and something about the way it stayed near me made the street feel less lonely. There, not so scary, right? I sat down, resting my back against the cold brick wall. The fox settled a foot away, watching me as if it wasn't sure what to make of me next. I couldn't help but smile. I bet the fox is Kai. I'll come back tomorrow too. Food, pillows, and whatever else you need. Don't be scared. I woke up slowly, the light streaming in through the curtain. The warmth of Kai's body next to mine was oddly comforting, but a lingering sense of unease tugged at me. Memories of yesterday flickered in my mind. Kai, the strange dream-like haze and those foxes in the bushes. Kai stirred, his arms tightening around my waist before he whispered groggily, "Morning, love." "Morning." Slept well. I was until you started stealing all the blankets. Not my fault you were hugging the blankets anyway. Excuse me? Who's the one wrapped up like a burrito right now? He pretended to think deeply. Guilty, but can you blame me? It's cold. Then maybe you should stop leaving the window open at night. But I like the fresh air. And I like waking up to you even more. Smooth, but I'm not making breakfast again. Oh, I tried. Though you know, I always love you even if you're making breakfast or not. Speaking of breakfast, while you were sleeping last night, I tried to do some work in the kitchen. I cleaned it all up though. Don't be mad. I found out yesterday how to make pancakes for you. I hope it's to your taste. You made pancakes for me? Yes. He woke up and scurried me over to the table in the living room. He proudly presented the pancakes to me. It looked like something. It definitely does not look completely appetizing. Try it. I hesitantly took a bite, holding onto my stomach for safety. How is it? It's amazing. Really, you think so? I'm not dumb and I know it's quite bad, but your words made me feel a lot better. Damn it! I'll improve in cooking. For you, I'll do everything. He had his hands in a fist and raised it up, determined. Kai sat across from me, watching intently as I poked at the pancake with my fork. The food wasn't the problem. It was quiet. A stillness hung in the air, too heavy for a typical morning. So you really made this by yourself at night? He nodded eagerly. Of course, I wanted to surprise you. You deserve it. His words were warm, but something about his tone. It was too deliberate, like he was trying too hard. My eyes drifted to his hands. They were clasped on the table, but his fingers were too still, too controlled, as if he was consciously stopping them from fidgeting. Well, it's definitely a surprise. You're full of them lately, huh? Kai's head tilted slightly, his gaze locking onto mine. Is that a bad thing? There it was again. The same strange feeling from yesterday, like his words didn't quite match the moment. I shifted in my chair, glancing at the window. The curtains fluttered in the breeze, letting in the golden morning light. But the warmth I usually felt wasn't there. The house was colder than it should have been. Quieter too. No birds outside, no faint hum of life. Just the sound of my own breathing and Kai's steady gaze. No, it's not a bad thing. Just, you've been different lately. Different now. I opened my mouth, but the words caught in my throat. How could I explain it? That sense of wrongness I just couldn't pin down. The way the world just seemed a little off. I don't know, maybe I'm just imagining things. You've been tense. Are you okay? You'd tell me if something was wrong, wouldn't you? There was a sincerity in his voice, but it only made the unease worse. His concern felt too perfect, like a mask molded to fit the situation. I smiled weakly, trying to shake the feeling, but as I looked into his eyes, I saw for just a moment they flickered. Not the usual light catching in amber, something else, something unnatural. I think I need some air. I'll come with you. No, it's fine. You've already done enough this morning. I just need a minute. Kai hesitated, his eyes narrowing slightly, but he leaned back in his chair, letting me go. As I stepped towards the door, the weight of his gaze burned into my back. Outside, the fresh air did little to calm me. The world was too quiet, the stillness pressing against my skin. I glanced towards the woods at the edge of the property, and that's when I saw it. I froze near the door. Faint muddy paw prints trailed across the floor. My heart raced. I glanced back towards the room I came from, where Kai was still eating alone, and then knelt to inspect the prints. They were small and delicate, too big for a cat but too small for a dog. A fox? I followed the prints. I felt completely distracted by them. What if it was the fox I met when I was younger, but standing on the edge of the footprints was the petite girl with short silver hair, fox-shaped earrings, and a nervous expression before flitting down onto the floor? Hi. I'm Rin. Sorry to bother you, but I think I dropped something near here yesterday. Oh, what is it? A pin. It looks purple. I remember the pin from yesterday and pulled it from my pocket. This one? Her face lit up. Thank you so much. I, didn't mean to scare you yesterday. I was just around. Around? Rin looked away, fidgeting nervously. Just exploring. Anyways, thanks again. She turned to leave, but I stepped forward. Wait, you said just exploring. What were you looking for? She paused, her back was still turned to me. My mentor, Kai. Kai Yamori. That's my boyfriend. I think you look too young to be interning at his workplace. The little girl, barely reaching my shoulder, stared at me dead in the eyes and her mouth widened. Is this what people do when they get older? Do what? She stumped on the ground frustrated. Ignore all job responsibilities on their students and chase some person. He goes to work every day, what do you mean? Oh, he does? You're lying so much. Listen here, child, do not talk to me like that. She rubbed her temples, suddenly reminding me of an old man. I don't know where she learnt that from. I haven't seen him teaching me at all. So his job is to teach you? No, it's so much more, but Dad won't tell me. He's not safe. Sorry for taking his time. That's right, you should apologize. No? You seem so much nicer than that guy. Anyway, I want to learn already, but he keeps pushing me away. Almost like he hates foxes. He hates himself. She lowered her head and went quiet for a while. I want Dad to trust me like he trusts him. Another moment of silence ensues. Do you have a special person that you chase? Do you want to hear about my friend Haru? I don't think it's the same way Kai chases you, but he's so annoying I have to keep running after him. Wait, this isn't about me. What'd you say about him not being safe? Dad told me not to find him, not to stay near him, but I did anyway because I'm a model student. She came closer to me and whispered in my ear, Kai's in danger. People are out to catch him. What? She leaned back and turned her head around to see if others were near us. My dad told me about this. No, we've dated for 3 years and I've known him 2 years before that. How could this happen? Hey, I'm 11, so 3 years ago I was 9, right? Yeah, that's right. Good job. She beamed proudly. I tried hard in human school. Also, 3 years ago, Kai was serving as my father's right hand. He was the one teaching me instead of those human teachers. I don't think so, because 3 years ago. I suddenly could not remember what happened 3 years ago. Tell me, what happened 3 years ago? 3 years ago? I should remember, but it's all a bit fuzzy. Rin glanced over her shoulder, the tension in her shoulders melting into an awkward fidget. She chewed on her lip, her silver hair catching the sunlight as it swayed in the breeze. Forget I said anything. I'm probably just being weird. Yeah, that's it. Weird. Rin, wait. Before I could take a step forward, Rin turned abruptly, her small frame a blur as she darted down the street. Her fox-shaped earrings bounced with each hurried step, and soon she was nothing but a flicker of silver disappearing into the distance. Rin, wait! Did Rin introduce herself? The only response was a faint echo of her sneakers on the pavement, swallowed by the stillness of the evening. What just happened? The house welcomed me with a comforting quiet. The familiar scent of lavender and faintly burnt coffee lingered in the air. I kicked off my shoes, my mind still buzzing with questions about Rin before noticing the note on the living room table. Going to work. Love you. My lips curled into a soft smile as I traced the hastily scrawled heart at the end of the note. I went back to my desk. I sat down, my fingers brushing over the keyboard as I tried to focus on the words waiting to be written. But the thoughts wouldn't come. Rin's silver hair and strange words floated through my mind, tangled with the vague unease I couldn't shake. 3 years ago. What was so important about that, and why couldn't I remember? I shook my head, muttering, Focus. You're behind on the deadline already. I hear the sound of the door unlocking. Kai smiled as he stepped inside, brushing imaginary dirt off his clothes. Working hard or hardly working? You're back. I thought I'd come home for lunch. What's cooking? Good looking? Nothing yet, you're helping me. About today? No, I was just out of my mind. I'm still confused, but I think I trust you, Kai. Okay, tell me if there's anything bothering you. I checked in the fridge before and there was absolutely nothing I could work with. We're going grocery shopping. Yippee! I was unusually chipper as we walked through the grocery store, pushing the cart with a bounce in his step. I followed behind, trying to focus on the list in my hand, but something about him seemed off. It wasn't anything obvious, just a subtle feeling that made my skin prickle. He veered into the snack aisle, grabbing a bag of chips and tossing it into the cart without a second thought. That's not on the list. It's an essential. I mean, I suppose so. I do like a good bag of chips every now and then. For what? A movie marathon? Exactly. I shook my head, stepping closer to the cart. For a moment, the bag of chips seemed to flicker, just for a split second, like it wasn't really there. Kai? Am I in a simulation? I blinked, and I was back, sitting in the car like nothing had happened. Weird. What's weird? Nothing, probably just tired. He didn't press, instead turning his attention to a shelf of ramen. You know I could live off this stuff. I would prefer if you didn't because it's not good for you. You practically do. Oh, great. I should get some... eggs. When I glanced back, the chips were gone. Kai, where's the bag of chips you just put in there? What do you mean, it's right? He stopped, staring at the empty spot on the cart, his brows furrowed, and for a split second, I thought I saw something in his eyes. Worry? Guilt? Do you have me trapped in a fabricated reality? Ah, must have put it back without realizing. Weird. You don't forget snacks. Ever. He laughed nervously. Maybe I'm losing my touch. Should I grab another one? No, it's fine. Let's just stick to the list. He nodded, but I noticed how he avoided my gaze. His usual carefree demeanor slipping just slightly. We moved to the produce section, where he picked up an apple and spun it in his hand like a magician with a trick. This one's got potential. Look at that shine. Sure. I glanced at the cart again. But this time, it wasn't just the chips that were gone. It was the eggs I just placed in there. My heart skipped a beat. My eggs! Kai, did you take the eggs out? Eggs? No. Why would I? I stared at the cart, my stomach twisting. I swear I just put them in there. Kai reached over, placing a hand on my shoulder. Hey, you okay? You seem distracted. Yeah, just tired, like I said. Probably imagining things. His hand lingered for a moment before he pulled away. His expression soft but unreadable. Why don't you stay here and take a breath? I'll grab the last few things. You sure? You're not exactly great at following the list. I'll do my best. Stay here. I nodded, leaning against the cart as he walked away. My eyes followed him, and for a second, just a second, his figure seemed to blur like heat waves rising off the asphalt. I blinked hard and he was back to normal, casually strolling down the aisle. Get it together. When he returned, the cart was full, and his usual cheerful demeanor was back in full force. Look, I even got the right kind of milk this time. Congratulations, you're learning. Me when I ask my husband to go pick up milk and he's like, full cream, skim milk, oat milk, what kind of milk? And I'm like, eh. We headed to the checkout and the strange occurrences faded into the background, almost. There was still a nagging feeling in the back of my mind like a puzzle piece that didn't quite fit. Next to me he whispered, not to me, but I suppose to himself. My illusions. Are they fading? So you do have me trapped in a reality. I watched him look at his hands with deep thoughts in his mind. Kai? He glanced at me and immediately straightened his thoughts. Yeah, I'm here. Let's go. As we left the store, Kai slung an arm around my shoulders, his touch warm and grounding. I insisted we go for a walk and clear our heads. Okay, I mean that's fine and all, but how do we end up in a scary clearing with a mysterious lake here and a strange-looking temple in a haunted-looking forest? The stars were out, and the cool air carried the faint scent of earth and leaves. I should have been romantic, but my thoughts wouldn't be quiet. Kai tugged at my hand gently, his grip firm enough to guide me, but soft enough to feel like a question. The woods around us were quiet, save for the rustle of leaves underfoot and the occasional chirp of unseen insects. There's something I want to show you. Something different. Different how? Different as in, wow, so romantic, or different as in, oops, I might have led you to the lair of a bear. Kai snorted, a rare, genuine sound that tugged at my chest. If there's a bear, I'll wrestle it for you, but no. It's a, wow, so romantic kind of thing. Probably. Are you gonna whip it out in the woods? His laughter echoed softly, and I couldn't help but smile. He'd always had a way of making the world feel lighter, like he could bend reality with a joke or a grin, and he can also bend me, if you know what I mean. Just trust me, if you don't like it, I'll lay you, big time. Breakfast in bed, foot rubs, whatever you want. I'm keeping that in mind. We walked deeper into the woods. Oh, great idea, guys! The moonlight playing tricks with the shadows. You ever think about how weird it is to trust someone completely? Like I could lead you anywhere right now, and you'd follow me. Don't get too cocky. I'm mostly following you because it's dark and you have better night vision than I do. Sure, that's the only reason. And maybe because I might want to get it on sacred grounds? And there was a flicker of something in his tone. Something almost wistful, but it was gone before I could name it. No one will hear you screaming, what the hell? Where are you leading me? I'm obviously leading you to enclose you in a pit for eternity. Somehow I feel like he's not lying. I'm joking, why are you giving me that look? Almost like you didn't trust your amazing boyfriend. Explain why my eggs disappeared. He raised his hand to his heart dramatically as if he got stabbed. We're almost there. He stopped abruptly, his hand slipping from mine. For a brief moment I felt unmoored, the absence of his touch more jarring than I expected. Close your eyes. What? No, I like knowing where I'm going. Go on, humor me, just for a second. I gave him a skeptical look, but he was already standing in front of me, his hands lightly brushing my arms. I won't let you trip. I promise. With a reluctant sigh, I closed my eyes. His hand moved to my shoulders, steadying me as he guided me forward. Each step felt longer, heavier, like the world was holding its breath. Okay, open them. I blinked against the sunlight of the room, filtering through the break in the trees. In front of us was a small clearing, where wildflowers blanketed the ground in soft purples and whites. A small weathered shrine stood at the center, its stone surface etched with patterns I couldn't decipher. A thin stream trickled nearby, its sound harmonizing with the rustling leaves. Oh, it's not much, but I thought you'd like it. Okay, this is actually kind of sweet. I like it. I turned to him, the moonlight catching in his hair, softening his features. He looked different. From the conversation we had today with Rin and everything, I felt as if this was a complete 360 degrees from when I expected he was lying, and caught me off guard. I used to come here when I was younger, back when I thought the world was too loud and didn't have room for me. This place felt like it did. I stepped closer to the shrine, running my fingers over the rough stone. The carvings were intricate, almost alive under my touch. It's beautiful, like it doesn't belong in the world. Maybe it doesn't, but neither do you. Wait, what? I looked back at him, startled. He smiled softly, like there was something else there, something fragile. Like he wasn't sure how I'd respond. That's a strange way to compliment someone. He steps closer, his hand brushing mine before he caught it, his fingers threading through mine again. Kai, when did you say you grew up? He paused, glancing away before answering. A small town near Akigawa Valley. The words came easily, but something about the way he said them made my stomach twist. Because he's lying! And why did you move? You know why. For work. Then why did you tell me you came here when you were younger? I came here a lot as a kid. My parents worked here. His hand brushed mine, grounding mine for a moment. Perhaps I was just overthinking. No, but then his eyes caught the moonlight, and for the briefest second they shimmered like amber. You're so weird, Kai. You're so weird, Kai, as I immediately start drawing an array for an exorcism. Takes one to know one. Yeah, I'll show you what I can take later. He rested his cheek against my hair, his hand squeezing mine gently. The world around us faded into the background. The stars, the shrine, the woods, all of it eclipsed by the steady rhythm of his breathing and the quiet hum of his presence. I think if I had ever lost this place, it'd be okay. As long as I still had you. We walked back to the way we came from. You're awfully quiet tonight. Was I? No. You talk quite a lot, but I feel like you're not completely here with me now. I'm just thinking. About what? I looked up at him, searching his face for answers. His smile faltered for just a second. Hey, I need you to trust me, okay? The woods grew quieter as we walked. A soft crunch of leaves beneath our feet blending with the faint hum of crickets. Kai's hand brushed against mine, and I glanced at him. He looked at me curiously, his head tilted slightly. What's on your mind? Something weird happened earlier. Kai slowed his pace, his hand slipping into his jacket pocket. The moonlight filtered through the branches, highlighting the puzzled look on his face. Weird how? And there was the girl. Rin? She seemed off. Kai stopped walking, his brows furrowed slightly as he turned to face me. His expression was unreadable, his eyes searching mine. Rin, out here. Yeah, she seemed scared. Like something was chasing her, or maybe she was running from something. Kai's gaze shifted towards the woods, his jaw tightening slightly. If she was scared, maybe it's something you shouldn't get involved in. The firmness in his tone caught me off guard. I stopped too, frowning at him. Why would you say that? Because sometimes people carry things they're not ready to share. Pressing them might only make it worse. I need to find that girl later and see what she's scared of. The way he spoke, deliberate and careful, sent a ripple of unease through me. It didn't feel like he was just talking about Rin. It felt like he was just talking about himself. He searched for my hand instinctively, his touch grounding me. I forced a smile. Yeah, probably. Also, what I said about you trusting me. Maybe I can't ask you too much about that, but could you please believe in me? Maybe? Why? When I ask you to stay with me. I thought in my mind for a moment. Would I like to stay with Kai? Yeah? I'm gonna choose yes this time. Don't tell me the answer now. But I just did. I'm scared to hear it. Let's get back home, you must be tired. And there I was. Asleep again, dreaming about the moments of my childhood. I sat on the street again next to the little pillow and box I left for the fox. My legs dangling over the edge. The night stretched endlessly above me. Scars scatter like freckles across the deep blue sky. Beside me, the small fox curled up, its fur tangled and dusty, but its eyes sharp and curious. We'd known each other for 5 days, and I never missed a single day where I didn't visit him. Yeah, it's not much, but it's better than nothing. The fox's nose twitched as it chewed, ears flicking at the sound of my voice. I leaned back on my hands, feeling the rough concrete scrape against my palms. You're not picky. I like that about you. Me? I can't even decide what to eat half the time, or what to say, or what to do with my life. The fox tilted its head, its gaze fixed on me like it actually understood. I laughed quietly, but it came out more like a breath. Mrs. Porter said I need to apply myself. What does that even mean? I stayed up like that all night, cramming for that stupid test. and I still bombed it like always. When the fox crept closer, its paws barely making a sound. It rested its head lightly on my knee, and the warmth of it felt steadier than anything I'd had all day. And my mom? She doesn't get it. She just keeps saying, "You're smarter than this." Like that's supposed to help. It doesn't. It just makes me feel worse. Like maybe I'm not smart enough, or maybe I'll never be enough. I sighed and leaned back further, letting my shoulders slump. The rain above swirled in patterns I couldn't name, and I wondered if they'd ever felt lost too. You're lucky, you know? No tests, no explanations, no one breathing down your neck. Just you and the wind and whatever this is we're doing. The fox let out a soft sound, suddenly between a whimper and a sigh, and nudged my head with his nose. I smiled and ran my fingers through its fur, careful not to press too hard. I bet you don't even care if I get another bad grade, or if I forget to text someone back, or if I just want to sit here and talk to a fox instead of people. The fox licked my fingers gentle and quick, like it didn't want me to feel alone. My chest ached in that strange hollow way that felt both better and worse at the same time. Yeah, I know you'd understand. You're probably the best listener I've ever met. I scratched behind its ears and its eyes closed, as if this moment was enough. As if I was enough. The fox's ears twitched, but it stayed close, leaning into my touch. I wanted to keep it there forever, but I knew better. I'll come back though, tomorrow, and the day after, I promise. The fox looked up at me, its tail flicking slightly, and I felt the promise settle inside me, warm and solid. I patted its head one last time before I stood up, brushing dust off my jeans. Don't forget me, okay? Not that you would. You're too smart for that. I climbed down the ladder, and when I glanced back up, the fox was still there, watching. It didn't move until I disappeared from view. And even then, I hoped it wouldn't leave. Not yet. Hey! Let me call you Kai from now on. The morning sunlight filtered weakly through the curtains, but the usual warmth of the day was absent. The house felt too quiet. I glanced at the clock on the wall. Kai shouldn't have left for work yet. Kai? Are you there? There was no absence. My chest tightened as I searched the house, his absence pressing against me like a weight. His jacket was gone, but his shoes were still by the door. Where did you go? My eyes fell on the corkboard. The note from last night, "Going to work, love you," was still pinned there, mocking me with its normalcy. I burst out of my apartment and ran with all my strength. I went faster and faster. I knew where I was going, the place that Kai led me last night. The shrine in the woods. The woods were darker than they should have been, the trees casting long shadows despite the sunlight flickering through the canopy. I moved cautiously, calling Kai's name into the stillness. Okay, MC is brave as hell, because I would not be caught dead coming back here by myself. Kai? Kai? This isn't funny. If you're messing with me, you win. Just come out. The only response was the rustle of leaves in the wind. A chill crawled down my spine. The further I went, the darker the woods became. The air felt heavier, thick with something I couldn't name. Then I saw it. A small ancient shrine hidden among the trees. Its stone surface was cracked and worn, moss creeping over its edges like a second skin. My breath hitched, and I stepped closer. There was an energy there. Palpable and strange, it hummed in the air, making my skin prickle. Scattered around the shrine were old notes and papers, the edges curled and yellowed with age. I crouched down, picking one up with trembling hands. Then, as I stumbled against the creaky wooden wall of the shrine, my vision began to fade. I blacked out. Kai! Kai! I raced my steps to catch a little fox, my best friend now. This was my 8th day feeding him and taking care of him. But something was wrong. Kai's body tensed, his tail low and stiff. His eyes darted around wide and alert. He looked scared. Not of me, but of something I couldn't see. Hey, what's wrong? It's just me. I knelt, reaching out slowly. But Kai stepped back, his paws scraping nervously against the pavement. My chest tightened. Kai, it's okay. I'm here. Don't do this. Kai's ears twitched, and for a moment he looked at me. Really looked like he wanted to trust me, but couldn't ignore whatever fear had gripped him. Then he turned, his small body trembling as he took another step away. No, wait. Please don't go. His tail flickered, and before I could move, he bolted. My breath hitched as I watched him disappear down the alley, leaving me standing there, heart pounding and empty. This is the last time I saw him. When I came back on the 9th day, he was nowhere to be found. The only trace of him was the food and pillows I left for him. I gasped heavily as I woke up, still in the shrine, and I took out the journals on the desk. The books on the desk in the poorly maintained area of the shrine attracted me. I had a feeling they had something to do with me. I skimmed through most of the words. Kai Yamori, age unknown, seemingly a strong fox spirit that had just regained the status of a 9-tailed kitsune. Status, very dangerous. I continued to skim through it. He was good friends with the old kitsune leader, and is expected to become the leader of the tribe. Currently messing around in Tokyo with a normal citizen named Yuni. I felt sick, but I continued. On the 3rd of January, the operation of sealing him will begin. This is because he is expected to visit the shrines of Hatsumode. When enclosed in the woods, the exorcist will gather and put spiritual seals and charms over him. This is the end of Kai Yamori. The rotten fox that has decided to plague the beautiful land of Japan. Papers nearby. I picked up the scattered piece of paper on the floor. A lot of those were written messily and scrawled out rushed. Kitsune. Guardians of the spirit world able to shift between human and fox forms. The words blurred as my mind raced. My blood ran cold as I skimmed further. I knew he was a kitsune. They protect, but they're hunted too. Able to create illusions and making memories that had never existed before. The realization hit me like a tidal wave, my breath catching in my throat. Having gathered all the information I could, I stood, my mind reeling with what I had just read. Well, obviously this time we're gonna help him. I mean, you know me, I don't discriminate between monster or spirit and human and such. I stumbled outside the shrine and I was greeted with Kai, standing amidst the chaos of glowing seals and spiritual energy. His back was to me, his shoulders tense. The faint amber glow of his eyes reflected off the shrine's cracked surface as he turned to look at me. His gaze softened instantly, a mixture of guilt and longing flickering across his face. You came. Not yet, I haven't. Yay! I stepped closer, my hand trembling, unsure of what to say. The truth of what he was, the illusions, the memories, everything had shaken me. I mean, that is true. You honestly could have just come back and told me, hey, I'm the fox that you saved. Yeah, remember me? I'm a kitsune now, and I probably would have just fallen for you anyway. I still trust you. I know. But it doesn't change how I feel about you. It's pretty dumb. He looked down, his expression twisting with regret. I never meant for it to go this far. I just wanted you to look at me the way you do now. To want me even if you knew the truth. I couldn't stand the thought of losing you. Even if it meant weaving a world of lies, I just wanted to stay by your side. You're an idiot. He smiled at me. You're always so good with words. Sometimes. I'm an idiot too. You came to me because you're you. And the reason I like you is because you're you. And who you are is someone who's an idiot. Hey, whoa, this is not what you say when you're trying to comfort me. What are you trying to say? I love you. He gently held my hand, his eyes glowing. Oh, he's so pretty. He's so gorgeous. Is this the part where we kiss? Oh, by the way, exorcists. I know, the batch of fools. And I'm worried. You don't have to be. The ground beneath us trembled as the exorcists emerged from the trees, the chants growing louder. The seals around the shrine flared brighter, their light harsh and unforgiving. I tricked the love of my life. How hard would it be to make some conspiracy theorists forget my existence? The chants died down, the footsteps becoming arrayed and frantic. I just wanted to see if you would come to warn me. I was too guilty to tell you the truth. I paused for a while, letting the silence sink in between us. A relieved sigh came from my lips. Despite everything, we just avoided a dangerous fate. What's after this? What do you mean? Just want to hear my boyfriend's plans. Boyfriend? That's what I said. Boyfriend, after all of that? Yes, I am delusional. Right, and you didn't consider that you're my type since the beginning? And you decided to just send illusions instead. You blushed. Your type? I'm sorry I'm glitching and repeating everything you say. As your boyfriend, I'd like to hold my partner's hands as we go home together. If you would allow it. The following weeks are peaceful, and a return to the quiet domesticity we built together. Kai, ever the mischievous charmer, seemed lighter now, less burdened and more at ease. And yet he didn't forget the responsibilities he left behind. So, Rin's coming over today. You mean the fox girl who was cursing your name in the street? How'd you convince her? I promised I'd actually start teaching her again. Plus, I may have bribed her with snacks. You're crazy. Kai pulled me close, his arms wrapping around me in a warm embrace. And yet you love me anyway. Because I am also kinda delulu. Don't let it get to your head. Later, I watched from the porch as Kai sat cross-legged on the grass, patiently explaining something to Rin. Her fox-shaped earrings glinted in the setting sun as she scribbled notes furiously, her brows furrowed in concentration. This would be easier if you weren't so bad at explaining things. Hey, watch it, kid. I'm doing you a favor here. You owe me. You skipped out on years of lessons. Kai laughed, the sound light and free before ruffling her hair. No, you're explaining it all wrong. Or maybe you're just not paying enough attention. I don't know how you even became a teacher. Pure charm, obviously. I leaned against the doorframe, smiling as I watched them bicker. Rin caught my eye and waved enthusiastically. Hey, Yiddy, tell him he's a terrible teacher. Don't listen to her, she's just mad and better at illusions than she is. Rin waved her arms furiously. Alright, I'll make it up to you. We'll start with the basics and work our way up. Deal? But no more running off, okay? Kai glanced back at me, his amber eyes glowing softly in the fading light. No more running. I've got everything I need right here. That night, we lay tangled together in the quiet of our room. Kai traced slow, lazy patterns on my arm. You know, I think this is the first time in forever, really, that I felt like I belonged somewhere. You always belong. You just didn't see it. Kai pressed a kiss to my temple, his voice a low murmur against my skin. I see it now, and because of you. I tilted my head to look at him, my heart swelling at the warmth in his eyes. As I rested my head against his chest, the steady rhythm of his heartbeat lulled me into a peaceful haze. For the first time, the future felt wide open, filled with endless possibilities. Ending 1, happily ever after. We did it! Alright, I'm gonna try and get the other endings. So what happens when we get him sealed? Seal plan January 3rd, shrine location established. Contact line. My eyes lingered on the number. My stomach churned with doubt, but my hands acted on their own, pulling my phone from my pocket. I stared at the screen for what felt like an eternity before dialing. The phone clicked after a few rings and a deep voice answered, calm and deliberate. This is the Yokai Preservation Unit. State your purpose. I hesitated, my voice barely above a whisper. I have information about a kitsune, a nine-tailed one. The line went silent for a moment and I nearly hung up. Location. My throat felt dry as I forced out the words. A shrine in the Akagawa woods. He's there now. We'll handle it. Stay clear of the area. Before I could respond, the line went dead. I stood there, phone clutched tightly in my hand, my chest tight with guilt and fear. Kai's footsteps broke the silence. He walked into the clearing, his amber eyes meeting mine. You've been busy. His voice was calm, but there was a faint edge to it. My hands instinctively moved behind my back, hiding the phone. I've been thinking. Kai tilted his head, studying me. About what? About us. About everything. Kai stepped closer, his expression softening. You know, don't you? I nodded, my gaze dropping to the ground. And you're still here. His voice carried a note of hope that twisted something inside of me. Whatever you're thinking, you don't have to be afraid. I'll protect you, always. His words felt like a knife to my chest. I couldn't bring myself to respond. His voice cracked. Please, let's talk about it. I'm so sorry. Please. Kai's voice broke, trembled with desperation. He reached out, his fingers hovering inches from mine. See, this could have all been solved if you just approached me as yourself, because I would have still been very into you. Kai's voice broke, trembling with desperation. He reached out, his fingers hovering inches from mine. Please don't push me away. Whatever it is you wrote, whatever you're feeling, I'll explain everything. I couldn't bring myself to meet his gaze. The weight of the phone in my pocket felt unbearable. Its presence a damning reminder of what I'd done. You lied to me. Kai flinched as if I'd struck him. He lowered his hand, his shoulders slumping. I know I didn't. I hate myself for it. But I swear to you, this wasn't to hurt you. I just didn't know how to tell you the truth. So you made me live a lie instead. I was scared. His voice rose, cracking under the weight of his emotions. His hands clenched into fists at his side. Scared of losing you. Scared of being alone. You're the only person who's ever made me feel human. And you should have trusted me. I know. But I'm trusting you now. Whatever happens, whatever you decide, just know that I love you. That's the one thing I've never lied about. But before I could say anything, the distant sound of footsteps echoed through the woods. Run. You need run. I'll hold them off. Instead of running, I'd stood still. Kai turned to look at me, confusion flickering in his amber eyes. Yinny, you need to go. I'll be fine. Before he said anything further, I pushed him down. Caught off guard, it was easy to make him tumble and restrain him, putting my entire weight against his body. He wiggled and struggled, trying to break free. My hands kept slipping as I tried to hold him still, but then an added weight helped me. I looked up to see one of the mysterious men also holding him down. Then more came to restrain his other limbs, successfully holding him captive. A larger, more menacing figure went towards us and placed a hand on my shoulder. On instinct, I let go and he took my place. Kai started to protest, swatting and fighting the group. The forest grew busy as they prepared for something. Candles were lit, sigils were drawn, and Kai sat in the middle of it, forced to kneel and bound by tight red ropes. Again he struggled and squirmed for freedom, but as his gaze caught mine, he froze. With eyes that screamed betrayal and weeps of a broken heart, he hung his head low. The robed men then surrounded him in a circle while chanting in an unknown language. I have issues with this ending. But strangely enough, it seemed to affect the fox, which is now howling in pain and anguish. Kai flailed and threw his body onto the ground as if he were having a bad seizure, worsening when the chant got louder. He started to howl, his cries piercing the air with raw pain and anguish. Why? The words were barely audible, but then I felt their weight in my chest like a boulder. And then silence. He lay motionless in the center of the ritual, his once vibrant presence reduced to a quiet stillness. I sat alone in the dimly lit room, the weight of the day pressing heavily on my chest. My hands trembled as I reached for the note still pinned to the corkboard, his writing so familiar and filled with love. Going to work. Love you. Kai was gone. I closed my eyes. You let them take him. The words were a dagger, sharp and unforgiving. I couldn't bring myself to respond. He trusted you, and you betrayed him. Okay, hang on. There is a big issue here, considering that he made me live an entire lie. I feel like neither of us should have just remained together at all. I wake up from the dream out of breath. Ending 2. Bad ending. I mean, yeah, it was a pretty bad ending. But like, here's the thing. Kai hasn't actually shown me that he's dangerous at all. Like, so far, all he's done is manipulate my memories, which is not good. But he hasn't done anything to hurt me. Rather, he's just protected me and just acted as my boyfriend. Would I have preferred that he just approached me as is, and then we, like, hit it off naturally? Yes, of course. He shouldn't have forced false memories on me in the first place. But I kind of feel like the bad end was a bit excessive, no? Anyways, I believe that was all of the endings to Ninefold Promise. First of all, I really like the art. I thought the sprites and the CGs were absolutely gorgeous. And I feel like the story itself is a really interesting premise because when I first read the initial paragraph in the description on the page, when it said that you woke up next to your boyfriend of 3 years but you don't actually remember ever meeting him, I was like, ooh. However, I do feel like some of the themes could have used a little more exploring because I personally am someone who does like quite a bit of lore just as a personal preference. So I would have liked a bit more background on Rin, I guess a little bit more explanation on Kay's past when you actually managed to confront him. However, I do also understand that this was made for a 30-day jam, and making a visual novel is a lot of work, so I completely understand as to why they stuck to a particular scope, and I think that for what time that they had, this still turned out quite beautifully. But overall, this is a fun game to play for the night, and I had a good time. As far as Yandere's go, he's definitely a little bit lighter. He's more of a manipulation type rather than the elimination type, which we generally see a bit more often, the one that's more prone to violence and more willing to kill. His obsessive behavior is very, very subtle and definitely not as aggressive as a lot of other yanderes that we do encounter in a lot of the games that we play as well. But anyways, thank you so much for experiencing this story with me. If you guys did enjoy this video, please leave a thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss out on the next one. And also, if you want to hang out outside of videos, I stream on Twitch 3 times a week. Feel free to come over and hang out with me in the community. And additionally, if you want any exclusive playthroughs, uncut scenes, and also sneak previews of games that I am currently making, feel free to jump over into my Patreon as well. But that's all for now. Thank you so much for the adventure, and as always, take care!